Ну что ж, похоже, что мы в эфире. Oh, looks like we are live and on Sungates Radio through Google Hangouts, and I am. Oh, looks like we are live and
technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties, but that's fine. So I'm pleased to introduce my guest today, Svetlana Pritzker, who is the author of an amazing book, Ultimate Love Affair, and well, we should tell more. That book is How to Find Yourself and Then Find Your Match. Hello, Svetlana.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited to be on your program.
Great, super. We'll talk a little bit about your book, and then at the end, hopefully we'll have some volunteers who would love to know more about their life or their they have burning questions that would help them to move forward, or maybe they stuck somewhere, or yeah. So how that idea to write the book come around?
First of all, I want to say it's not my book. It's everybody's book. This book has been channeled. I have not really thought of myself as an author until the time that I became an author. And it came about after I've done thousands and thousands of sessions and readings with individuals, couples, and groups. At some point, I realized that the information that everybody needs cannot be repeated many, many times, because in the repetition, some of it gets lost. And so I asked my guidance, my masters, light beings that support me in my work, to help me write the book, because I haven't done writing in English at the time. And so I sat down and I started writing, and it really happened pretty fast. And a lot of visions and ideas that I have talked about in the book have been proven by life. So I think I've written it in 2009 or 2010, and it's 2017. So a lot of people that I've coached at the time came back to me with life stories about how some of the things that I was teaching in the book really helped them. So I have an extensive background and expertise in teaching and psychology and education, but truly in this book, some words and some ideas and some messages really came from the morphic field of humanity. And the book brings about the information that is important for everybody, because we lose ourselves in relationships very often, and then we blame that on our partner. So hopefully people who can read this will get a clear vision of themselves, because you can't really find anybody to enjoy the relationship with if you're not enjoying relationship with yourself.
I think I lost you for a moment.
I'm here.
Okay, you're back. Looks like you're back, because it was silence for a while. Well, I understand that it's not just one book that you wrote. There are other books.
Yes.
What are they?
Actually, my first books were about attention deficit disorder, because at some point I realized that everybody has it. It's not a joke. We are trained by TV, media, our colleagues, our bosses, to do things very fast and to do many things at the same time, which is extremely great. But eventually we lose attention in doing something for an extended period of time. So, and on top of it, we also have all kinds of genetic predispositions and miasmas and things that come from the past and childhood illnesses. So at some point I decided I have to look into it, because everybody has it. Everybody is being diagnosed or not diagnosed, just quietly suffering. And I've explored 8 big topics. For example, topics of disorganization, why my desk looks like that, why I cannot hear sometimes and I lose the idea, why I always fidgeting and I need to move all the time. All of these are like signs of this unfocused attention. And so first 2 books were about that, how to leave the space of being all over the place and get into a place of focus and achievement and accomplishment. And then there was The Ultimate Love Affair, which is about finding your match in the world by understanding who you are. And then there was The Creative Art of Parenting, which addresses the issues of how we influence our children even before they're born, and definitely after they're born, and how we live our life through our children, actually limiting them in developing how they could be in life. And then at some point I decided that children also need something to hold on to while their parents are learning how to be with their children. So I started writing children books. So right now I have about 20 stories. These are done in partnership with a very amazing storyteller. And these are about how we as human beings are similar to animals. We have instincts, we call it intuition. We have need to survive, we call it competition. And then we have fears, and we have aspirations, ideas that we want to be, how we want to be in the world. And so in those books, I teach children through this story of struggle and bravery and overcoming challenges, how you can embody the instinct and how you can follow through with your inspiration, the bird eye view, and how you can let go of the fear or feel the fear and do it anyway. And these are the books about Trinity, the insect that represents the world down there, and then the bird that represents the world up there, and the animal that is very similar to our human nature.
Wow, that sounds very interesting. Actually, we have a question about fears. You just touched base on it, but how one can deal with the fears? And there are lots of fears right now in the world and in the families everywhere. What would be your suggestion, the insight about fears?
Yeah,
how to deal with
I
them?
truly believe that fear does not live separately from us somewhere there. The fear is the normal reaction, a very animalistic reaction, actually reptilian brain reaction. So it's not even the mammal, it's the reptilian brain that is at the base of our skull. Inside the skull, of course, we have this special arrangement that is always on alert. It wants to protect us. It wants to make sure that we survive. And because it's very undeveloped, it's the basic, it doesn't really have a reasoning. So every time we sense that our life is in danger, we go into that reptilian brain, which switches off everything else and only leaves the systems that are responsible for survival. So what happens, this is very ancient system, so overriding the system is very hard. But we can look into what triggers that system. And because we're very conscious beings, we have the neocortex here, and these are words. This is the processing words. So what happens when somebody says something on the media or in your family, or you say to yourself, what if this and this and this will happen? As soon as that happens, your neocortex gets it and sends it back through all the wiring in the brain. And I'm simplifying, of course, we don't have to spend much time on that. But what happens that we react to our own thoughts. But fears are never happening in the present moment. In the present moment, it's not a fear. It's already actually something is happening and you do have to react. You walk on the street, the car is driving by, it's too close to you, you understand you need to jump. You're not going to wait until it hits you. But if you walk on the street and you think about the car might hit you, you will have the same reaction. There was a study actually on athletes. They put all kinds of sensors on their body and they told them to think about running. And about 80% of the muscles got involved. Even though they were sitting, or laying down and doing nothing. So as soon as we have the thought, our body is trained to react to that. And so we can monitor those thoughts, because fear is, I like this acronym very much. I didn't make it up, but I like it. False evidence appears real. Or you can say fantasy. The fantasy, you have the idea, you don't really know how it's going to be. It could be this or that. You don't even know how dangerous it could be, because as soon as you think about it, it's like having a shell and start putting some information to the shell, and pretty soon it becomes a real object. So the more you think of that, the more real it becomes for you. But it's false evidence. It didn't happen yet. It might never happen. So the important thing is to recognize, if you have a fear, what that fear is based on. For example, if you're in a relationship with an abusive person and you're scared that that person is coming home, that is very real for you. So instead of sitting and thinking how it's going to happen in the future and he's going to come or she's going to come and beat me up or abuse me, get out of this relationship. But if you're thinking about your husband or your wife that is out there at work or meeting with the friends, maybe he's cheating on me, that actually is not real. And if you have that thought, check it out, talk, look around, hire a private investigator, do something to, as an action, will help you either prove that the fear is real or disapprove it. But if you're just running the fear in your head, you're damaging your immune system, because in response to that thought, you have adrenaline, you have cortisol, all those stress hormones are pumping into your body. And if you're doing nothing, you eventually will destroy your immune system.
How about those fears the most people have? And I know that's the most popular fear among the population is the fear of public speaking.
Oh, that is not even a fear. It's a normal reaction. When we are children, very often we're told that we're not good enough. Every time we say something, there is a reaction, the adult reaction. I actually worked with a number of clients on the fear of public speaking, because a lot of my clients are world leaders and people of influence, Hollywood people even. I've worked a lot in California. And so what happens, every time we unpack that story, there is a grandma somewhere at the bottom that says you should have learned that particular poem better, because when you recite the poem, you're not good enough. Or there is a father who says, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Or there is a mother that looks at you with the evil eye and says, what? If you're not, your pronunciation is not very clear. So that is a normal reaction. The problem is when we get that, because we're little children, we don't know how to respond to that. We have a state-based decision that we don't want to disappoint anybody. And then later on, we forget that that decision was made, that we don't want to do it. We don't want to be ridiculed. And so we live as if that was true, but that is not. So that actually in my sessions, a lot of times I just release that fear. All you need to do is to go through the step to find the first step where you lost it. And then when you see how unreal that it was just somebody judging you, not necessarily through judgment, you restore your ability to speak.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Svetlana, could you remind our listeners of what do they need provide for you in order to do the reading?
Okay.
What information?
Yeah. So since I don't see you, don't know you, and I want to make it fast, I would need to tune in to what you're about. And my readings are not psychic predictions. For that, you have other people, or astrological predictions. These are more about understanding how your energetic body works, how you are in the world. And what are the strategies that will help you to make your life better? So I need your date, time, and place of birth. Date, time, and place of birth. And if you don't know your time, I need to have something that is close to that time, because your body is being affected by many different factors. So when you're born is important. Very often people ask, if I am born on that time and another 100 people born on the time, are we all the same? No, we're not all the same, because we live in the families, we live in societies, in tribes, in geographical locations that affect you as well. So that's why I need the place where you were born and the time, and the date, of course, is also important, because on that date, particular things are happening in the world that affect our body. We are all one. That's not a joke. That's the truth.
And then you need a question.
Of course, or not. Question would focus me. If you want to have something answered particularly, that will help me.
All right, sounds good. Hopefully we're gonna get questions very soon. And for now, let me ask you another question. I know that you are a multi-talented person, and there is a painting behind you. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. Well, for many years, I used my voice to teach. I'm a teacher. I have 2 degrees in education. I have everything in 2, 3, 4, and 6. It's just, I'm like many of you. I like to have papers that prove that I'm okay. So a few years ago, I was drawn to change the way I teach and be able not only move the energy through the body, through my hands and my words, but also give somebody a template of consciousness. So at that point, I started creating spiritual paintings, the paintings of your soul, the soul urge. What is it that you have as a purpose, and how you can achieve that purpose? So every time I would paint, it would be like an energetic session, which I would later give to the person, and they use the painting to meditate and to bring the energy into their environment. So this particular painting is a new painting, just finished a few weeks ago. And this painting has an interesting centerpiece right here, like a talisman. And I call it the Stargate of Voice, the Stargate of Truth. We habitually suppress our ability to speak. Fear of public speaking is one of them. But in general, we try not to voice our opinion in order to please somebody, in order to avoid a conflict, and in order not to be very visible, because we don't want to be punished for anything or have a problem with anything. So this energetic center, our center that's connected to thyroid and parathyroid, is suppressed. And so if you look at the health application, you're a wellness coach, Rita, I know. So you probably deal with people with this problem all the time, that thyroid and parathyroid are in bad shape. Everybody has a very low functioning thyroid, because our emotions and our voice is stuck here. And of course, we have some other factors. But energetically, that's the important thing, that you need to start talking and expressing your truth, not just talking. Because what we do when we cannot express our truth, we just talk. And if you talk way too much, your thyroid is being overworking. And then it creates another problem as well, too. So right behind that being is this other bigger Stargate. So this painting embodies the idea that you can become very free to travel the world, physical world, non-physical worlds, the worlds of ideas. You can be expanded. You can radiate that truth into the world, but it starts here. So this is the key, and it actually has a certain design. And if you can see here, and on the other side, there is a light language. The light language for me comes in shapes that I try to decipher later on. I write poems about it. But the information that comes through the painting is very real. And I actually already received testimonials from people who've been affected by just breathing in the colors and connecting to her eyes. Then you see on the face there is some design as well, light language, and
Yes.
this is also an interesting thing that I've started doing, but I didn't know how it's related to everything. And I just recently saw a children movie called Moana, about Hawaiian princess and girl, and a being who's half human, half God, and they go on a journey and they save the world. And that being, this guy, half man, half God, every time he achieves something, every time he does something, the tattoo shows up on his body, and that tattoo tells the story. And if you think about ancient civilizations, this is actually what they've done. They were tattooing their body to bring about their achievement, to have the oral stories, and then from the body it went on the caves walls. So when I was doing this, I didn't really think about it, but then I saw the movie and I kind of realized that as we age, as we go through the process, when we overcome our fears, we embody those events. And this is how I brought it into painting, to show that every wrinkle we have is not to be ashamed of. And with age, we actually gain more wisdom and we gain experience that we have to share with the world. So open and share.
Great message. Absolutely amazing message that resonate with me so much. I guess we have one question from the lady, and she wants to stay covered. I would say, I guess. Well,
she hides her name, but she gives her data.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
September 1962, and it was in the morning.
In the morning, how early?
5 a.m. 5:10.
Okay.
And do you need country or?
Yes, country and city.
It was Minsk, Belarus.
Okay.
And the question is there any hidden gifts that she has that uncovered yet?
I don't know what she already uncovered and what she didn't uncover, so it would be hard to say. But I can tell her what gifts she does have that I see. This woman, I feel for you because you are always on the age between being and becoming. And it's really hard for you to actually stop and breathe and take care of yourself and take time for yourself, because that becoming is part of you and it's a very strong part of you. You are magnetic force that attracts all kinds of ideas, and you have ideas coming faster than you can, deal with them. And these ideas, they also attract people to you. And it's hard to commit, because when everybody wants something from you and you're a person who likes to do many different things and you're very versatile, then at this point, you really need to decide what is yours to take care of and what's not yours to take care of. And what happens when you try to do this, you might get into a conflict, create a conflict, because we're only human. And when we say no, then other people sometimes do not like it. And you're the person who doesn't say no so often, or at least this is what I see. You want to say yes to everything, and it gives you that feeling, that power of creation. But the truth of the matter is your heart has to stay open, and your mind has to stay open, because you are a master of creating formulas. You can find something very complex and make it really very digestible, very, very easy to understand. But you first have to understand and make it for yourself. You have to create a formula of how your talent of seeing that bigger picture and knowing what your role is in the world, because it's a big role. It's a role of somebody who sees it all from the bird eye view. and how you can narrow down so you do not get dispersed, you do not lose yourself, and especially that you're protecting your voice, because in your particular case, the more you talk, the more stress you put in here, the more tired you become. You can do a lot of things, but if you talk too much, it's very tiring. It could also affect thyroid and parathyroid. Interestingly enough, we just talked about it. And you have a potential, huge potential to see light in everything. And when you see potential, you go for that potential, but it might not be here. It might be in the future. So you kind of need to decide where you want to be and when you want to become, the next step of becoming.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Hopefully it'll help the person who asked the question.
Yeah, and you can post it in the chat if you have, further question,
Right.
or it's something that resonates with you, so I would know what you've gotten from that.
Right. Whoever listening to us right now, there is a chance to ask a question, and I'm sure we have time for one more. Meanwhile, would you like to share something that for you would come into for you today to share with our listeners?
Oh, sure. Yeah, what's coming for me is the frequency. The word frequency and vibration. And the reason for that is that we are dealing with technology. And during this, our conversation, a few times, there was a moment when technology would fail us and freeze. And it actually does happen quite a lot when I'm working, because we all have different vibrational qualities. And my vibrational quality used to affect electronics a lot. So I worked on myself to dim it somewhat so the electronics continue working properly. But this is just a role model for how we connect with each other, because we all have different frequency. Some people resonate with a little lower frequencies, conservative, bored, tired, scared. And some people are enthusiastic and willing to try things and courageous. And so every time there is a difference in frequency between people, we actually have an ability to save the world. So if you would be a cell tower and I will be the phone, and you send me the signal and I send you signal back, those signals are the same. But luckily we're human beings and we have consciousness. So when the signal comes to me from you, and I'm not saying you, Rita, the wellness coach, I'm talking about anybody sending signal. I have an ability, because I'm conscious, to look at the signal and identify the signal. This is anger, this is frustration, this is happiness, this is enthusiasm. And when I identify that as something that comes to me, I have an opportunity to inverse it, reverse it, upgrade it, downgrade it. I have this opportunity. This is my signal now. It got to me, the ball is in my hand. So now I can decide how my answer will go from me to you. And very often we react. Something throws us the ball of anger, we go back to you. And somebody goes, I love you, and all of a sudden you love this person, and 6 months later you go, I didn't love him really. So it's very, very important to understand your vibrational quality. And the vibrational quality is something that is on the background, that is always a particular energetic signature. And of course, you go up and down. If something sad happens, you cry. Something happy happens, you laugh. But in general, there is a frequency that something that precedes you. You know, like you think of somebody and you go, oh, that person is always so tired, or this person is always so happy. So that's a vibrational quality. And you want to be aware of what your vibrational quality is, because you come to the room and you bring that with you. So think about you going to somebody's house and you bring a gift, right? You always want to bring something, especially we both come from Russian culture. So there we always want to bring something beautiful. So you bring the gift and then you bring the sadness with you. Right? You want to be aware that your gift is not just something that you bought in a store. It is also something that is in your hands, and your frequency can be the biggest gift to the world. So we started this conversation with fears. What do you do? Reverse your fears. Find the courage. what can I do to feel better?
Well,
How can I do it?
this is the amazing suggestion, because when we are aware what we bring to the world will respond the same. And this is super powerful. Just want to talk to our listener for a second and let them know that we're gonna be here on YouTube through Google Hangouts every Thursday at the same time. So just be prepared with your questions, and Svetlana will give the insight. She'll download the information for you to understand yourself better. We're gonna talk about different topics, different issues, and hopefully we'll be able to help you to move on with your life and be on a higher vibrations to bring more light to the world.
And I just want to add to this that sometimes when I say things, they sound pretty simple. And believe me, I worked on this, because my first books, if you go and you start reading them, you are going to lose your mind, because in every word there would be concepts, huge concepts, and every paragraph is like 5 sessions. So I've learned to simplify it, to make it so digestible that you can take what I say and use it right now. So even though it sounds simple, I really worked on it to make it simple. Take it seriously. Take those concepts to your heart, because they will really help you. And I just want to give you one little story. Do we have a question, or I can give
No, we don't have
good.
any questions.
That often happens too, that people don't want to get all the information in public, and they call me later on, and you can find my website in the description, but also energy4action.com, energy4action.com. I'll be happy to talk to you. And of course, you can call Rita at Sungates Center, and she'll be able to help you with all the wellness issues. So the story about vibration. I'm normally not afraid. I've been to all kinds of interesting situations, including one where I was going on a trek to Everest Base Camp, and my husband climbed Mount Everest in 2009, actually summited Mount Everest, and we wrote a book together about it. So it was a hard time in my life, but I don't get scared, for me or for others, because I know better. Fear is false evidence appears real, and I'm trying to resolve the situation so the fear is not an issue. So one day I'm sitting at home and somebody calls on the door, and I open the door. Not a good idea maybe, but I'm not afraid. I open the door, and in front of me is the man who looks very strange. So the van he arrived in has one name, which I don't remember, Comcast maybe. And then he's dressed in something that is not Comcast, because my daughter is an owner of the store, Comcast and Verizon, and I know how they're dressed. And then he holds the umbrella that looks like umbrella that a clown would wear, all kinds of colors. And then he has this little thing that a tag that they normally have their face on it, and there is no face, just the letters. It doesn't stop me. I invite him in my house. He goes like, okay, so I came here to check your computer and telephone. Okay, fine. So I invite him to my house. He comes in. He takes my laptop. He plugged in something and starts looking for my. He says, I'm gonna check how it works, how the signal works. I'm still okay. So he goes through all kinds of things on my computer. Then he says, I need to look in the base and then some other things. I'm like, okay, it's in the basement. So I put him in the basement. I come back and I continue working because I have things to do. And then at the end, he tells me that he is a diabetic. And I know how people with diabetes look like, because we have conversation, I'm a coach. So people talk to me very fast. So he talks about his problems, and he doesn't look like this. He's very thin. He looks very healthy. So I gave him some advice, and I said, you don't look like that. You should check with the doctors because you might have some other issues and not diabetes. And then he leaves. Mm-hmm. And then my husband comes home. And I tell him the story. And he says, you're crazy. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, all those symptoms, didn't you see that something's wrong? I'm like, yes, I see something wrong, but I see the person is all over the place. He needs help. So he calls the police comes, and that's what police says. Do you know that there is a band of gypsies or whatever, they're robbing everybody's homes, there was incidents, there was this and that, but it didn't happen to me. It could happen to me, but it didn't happen to me. He looked, I have a lot of artwork because I'm an artist and I also love art. So I have expensive paintings. So people look in my windows, it's all open. And he says, they come to steal your things. I'm like, nobody steals anything from me because I open my heart and my vibration is so hard. It's the heart vibration. I mean, like, how can you steal from somebody like that? And I'm sure things could happen, so nobody's protected 100%, but I truly believe I am protected. Because when you live with that idea that the world is a dangerous place and everybody's after you, you eventually end up in a bad situation. But if you live in a world that everyone is a human and everyone has an issue and a problem and everybody wants to be listened and all people want is to be loved. And when you love them, genuinely love them and genuinely interested in these people, there is no place for fear or anger or even boredom, because it's so fascinating. Like, look at this guy. I'm like, wow, I haven't seen anybody like that. And because we had that connection, nothing ever happened. He asked me, whose art is that? I'm like, this is my friend's, this is mine, this is I bought. He's like, this is incredible art. I'm like, thank you for sharing that with me.
Well, maybe that was too heavy to get it out, so he wasn't able to. Well, I'm only kidding.
Actually, I can do it with one hand.
I'm only kidding. Of course, that was your open heart and high vibration that didn't allow him to do something like that, to do the crime.
He probably forgot what he came for.
Right.
This is how I feel. That when you really look somebody in the eye and when you mean it, people forget that they had some bad ideas because they receive that so. It's not frequent that you can get that from people. And so people melt into this.
Great, super. I really love that. So to our listeners, our program is almost come to the end today, but we're going to be here for you with Svetlana every Thursday, 7:30. And please be ready with your questions, because it can change your life. Just sometimes one question asked and one answer can change your life forever. And I'm really thankful to have Svetlana as my partner on those programs and conversation that we're gonna provide for you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. If you have questions in those programs, email us, put it in our Google Hangout, Sungates Radio and Sungates Radio to assist. Website is energyaction.com. Please do not hesitate to contact us.
Yes, and ask questions in the recording in the comments. What would you like us to talk about next time? Because now we are live now, but this video will be available in the recording on Sungates Radio on YouTube, and also we're going to post it on Sungates Center Facebook page. Thank you very much, and we'll meet next Thursday.
Thank you. And until then, take care of yourself.
Bye-bye. Thank you.